Welcome to our live webinar YouTube community. Today we have a very special guest who is very close to APTI Plus heart actually. So we are excited to have Mr. Abhijit Ray, AIR 50 2022 UPSC CAC, our topper from West Bengal, and most importantly, great alumnus of APTI Plus. We welcome you, Mr. Abhijit Ray. So today, Mr.
Thank you.
Abhijit will be sharing his insight on diagram and the importance of diagram and flowchart in mains answers. So we'll be hearing a lot of things from Mr. Abhijit. So dear students, make your question and answer question, or if you want to ask something, or if you have any doubt ready, so that we can discuss on that in the end of the session. So we'll be handing over this session to Mr. Abhijit. Thank you for having this webinar with us. I know that you are very busy. You have given us the time and our student basically. So thank you once again. You may proceed with the session. Thank you.
Uh, you are welcome, and I hope I'm audible and the screen is visible, right? So, it's just a small presentation about the importance of diagrams and flowcharts in the UPSC CSE journey, especially the mains part of the exam. So, as you know, prelims has just finished, and students are preparing for mains. So, I think this is a good time for people to once again refresh their memory about some of the tips and tricks that can be used to enhance answers and add value to your answers, because as we will see later that this mains exam is about writing. It's about revision and practice, and to inculcate the habit of diagrams, flowcharts, and other visual aids in mains answer writing becomes a handy tool, as we will see in the next slides. So I have prepared a presentation of around 15-16 slides that sort of it has lots of examples, lots of screenshots of my own answer writing practice that I had done. So I'm going to go by one slide after another, and I hope you find it useful. So, at the outset, just to refresh everyone's memory, people who are joining this journey for the first time, or people who are not seen the UPSC CSE mains stage of the exam. So, it is best explained by saying that it's a marathon of written expression. I mean, you have to write and write and write. So, you have 9 papers that you have to write in 5 days. Uh, and 7 of those papers are used for calculation of your marks for the final ranking. So 2 of the papers, one is your language and other one is English, are not counted for ranking. So it is best explained by saying that it's a marathon of written expression. And like I said, there's a lot of writing. Each paper is of 3 hours, which basically means, for example, the GS 1, 2, 3, and 4 subjects that we have, as well as the optional 1 and optional 2. These 6 papers are basically question and answer booklets of 50 pages, and you have to basically write 50 pages of answers in 180 minutes. What that means is 180 by 50 is 3.6 minutes per page, is the time that you can allocate for each answer, each page, in the 50 page answer copy. So this is a metric that should always remain in your mind while you are practicing, while you are studying, while you are revising for mains. There is no need to study a lot about one topic, because at max you'll be able to write only 3 pages about it, and there is also not the opportunity to study very less, because you have to write, let's say for a 15-mark question, 3 pages on it. So you have to balance, and balance not only in terms of knowledge but also in terms of time. You cannot spend or afford to spend at max more than 4 minutes per page. Even 4 minutes is not advisable. 3.5 minutes is best. So that's that, 3.5 minutes. Now number three is that my personal experience, I've given 2 mains. I failed in my first mains, which was my third attempt. It was my first mains but my third attempt. So in my experience of this mains journey, you do not even have time to look up when you are writing those 3 hours. I'm sorry. So the idea is to write 20 average answers and not aim for perfection. So 20 average answers, 10 questions of 2 pages, and 10 questions of 3 pages. So you do not have time to write good answers. You must realize this. There are, out of 20 questions, you will have 5 or 6 questions for which you will know very well. There will be five or 3 or 4 questions you will not know anything. The idea is to write average 50 pages of average answers. On balance, when you see the summation, the marks will be good enough, rather than focusing on 10 very good answers, 5 uh, okay answers, and 5 bad answers. It's more important to focus on this mains 3 hours. Like, you have to write 50 pages of average answers. So the idea is that there'll be around 10,000 people who will be giving mains. So, in this battle of words, a well placed diagram or a visual aid can be a very powerful weapon to differentiate your answer from someone else. So, that is the purpose of this presentation, to give you some idea or some hints of things that I found useful during my preparation. And I'll show you with real examples of how I used these visual aids in my answers. So going to the next slide, why is it important? Again, a very academic sort of a slide, but I just put it for the sake of conclusion. Of course, it enhances answer quality. It helps to clarify complex concepts and show relationships in a way that text by itself will find it difficult. Because to write something and explain by writing, it takes a lot more words, and you do not have the luxury of time. Also, if you put in a diagram or a flowchart, it also explains your understanding, that you understand the topic much more than just memorizing it. You are able to apply your learned knowledge and put it in a diagram form. So that conveys that to the examiner. Of course, it saves time, as we will see. You can explain things concisely. And of course, that half mark or 1 mark that you can get extra, the entire 50 pages, if you add that up, that gives an edge of around 4 or 5 marks. And that's huge. Of course, it improves presentation, we all know that. If it is done correctly, of course. If there is a very untidy diagram or untidy visual aid, then it doesn't solve the purpose, as we will see. So I hope this slide is clear. This is a very academic slide. Just I mean It's just not a practical, but a very theoretical slide on what are the things that are important, and why diagrams are important. So we are going to see in the following slides about the practical aspects of it. Some aspects of using visual aids. Number one, it should be clear and neat and easy to understand. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose. Trust me. Um, it should be relevant. It should only be that diagram or visual aid that supports your answer, rather than something that does not support your answer or is sort of confuses the examiner. It should be the right tool for the job. Use only that diagram that best is suited to convey what you want to convey. We are going to see in the following slides about the various types of visual aids that you can use in your answers, and with examples. So there are Venn diagrams, maps, flow charts, schematic diagrams. Use that which perfectly suits the situation. That astuteness will only come when you practice a lot. And of course, it should not uh, take away time from your 3.5 minutes per page. It should not make you exceed 4 minutes, because when it does, then it defeats the purpose. There is no point of adding 3 or 4 good diagrams in your 50 pages, but then you're not able to complete 50 pages. You have left 3 or 4 pages. Overall, your marks will be less. You have to realize that only when you are at a situation when you're able to complete 50 pages does this aspect of gaining some extra marks, gaining some extra edge through visual aids will help. Otherwise, it will not help. So that is something that many students miss out on, and I feel it is something that you should remember. So we're going to talk about some types of visual aids that can be useful, some things that I found useful. For example, in GS1 we have geography. So in geography, maps can be very useful. Schematic diagrams can be very useful. In this regard, you might want to have a look at the class 11 physical geography book that, yeah, there are some excellent diagrams. Some of them can be used in your geography answers. So geography is a subject, for example, in GS1, which is very technical. So the use of technical words and technical diagrams will help give you some extra edge over others. So maps, for example, we'll see in the next slides. Flowcharts. If you want to explain a process, like what are the steps in, let's say, acceptance of a policy, और डिसीजन मेकिंग की व्हाट आर द स्टेप्स, क्या होता है वो स्टेप्स, वो आप फ्लो चार्ट से बता सकते हैं. पाई चार्ट्स, फॉर एग्जांपल जीएस पेपर 3 में, इफ यू वांट टू फॉर एग्जांपल depict that how much does the government of India spend on education versus defense versus fishery versus shipping, just for example. So you can draw a pie chart and then have the division that way. um, and Venn diagrams can be useful when you want to show something, part of which is common, and then there is some two separate things, and both of them have something in common. So something like that concept can be shown. So you have to understand which sort of visual aid will best help you, and that only comes with lots and lots of practice. I'm again and again repeating that it comes only with a lot of practice. It cannot be that someday you'll wake up and suddenly you'll become a master of answering mains answer copies with great visual aids. No, it doesn't happen that way. It comes with a lot of practice. So remember that. So now what we'll do is I have some screenshots that I have taken from my own mock test that I had given throughout my preparation, and how I have used um, visual aids. For example, maps हो गए, flow charts हो गए, और भी कुछ भी हो गया, तो वो सब Venn diagram हो गया, वो सब हम मैं दिखाता हूँ. And there you can see how practically things can be implemented. I also show you something that I mistakenly used a flowchart on, which didn't help. So I'll show you all sort of examples. So we'll do it one by one. So this question, I hope it's audible. I hope it's visible. Um, is about the One Belt One Road initiative of China. It talks about the Silk Road economic belt and the maritime Silk Route, which are part of One Belt One Road. So after the introduction, I decided to draw a map. Now in this context, some skills that are very handy is to be able to draw the Indian map very very quickly, to be able to draw the world map very quickly. It is a skill that you definitely need to learn. I'll tell you how useful it was in my actual UPSC CSE mains exam. In my 2021 attempt, in the year that I got All India Rank 50, uh, I remember in GS1 there were 20 questions, and I sort of drew 13 or 14 maps, or even more than that, वर्ल्ड और इंडिया मिला के. बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन में मैंने मैप बनाया. कुछ कुछ क्वेश्चन है जिनमें मुझे ज़्यादा आता नहीं था, तो आई टू टेक अप स्पेस आई ड्रू मैप एंड एक्सप्लेन वाया मैप्स. So you have to be ready to draw world and India map at the blink of an eye, and that is the level of practice that you should have. Here I have drawn the world map and I have shown where Europe is, where Africa is, where India is, where the Malacca Strait is. Why? Because it's strategically very important. China, where is it? Where is the Silk Road economic belt? Where is the maritime Silk Road? All these things very quickly I have been able to show. And then after that, if you see, I have mentioned that One Belt One Road initiative is divided into two parts. One is land route and one is sea route. If I had to write this down, it would have taken me much more time. So that is where the time saving happens. These are very small time savings. You will feel that 5 second, 2 second, 10 second ऐसे करके. But when you see in the context of 50 pages, how much time saving you have, there it makes a difference. There maybe the time that you have saved, maybe you will be able to write half a page extra at the end, and that half a page can give you one extra mark, maybe, and then that one extra mark will help you differentiate between the service of your preference and some other service, or even your name in the list. So these things matter. The more you practice, the more you realize that these things matter. So this is the first slide that I had, first screenshot. Let's see something else. So yeah, this is a question about water crisis. Suggest ways to improve water conservation. So what I've done is I just took a screenshot to show you that tap water connection, when it is not there, there is this idea that people dig bore wells, right? And when bore wells they dig, there is uncontrolled, unabated use of excess groundwater. So what does it, that lowers the groundwater level. Now I have explained this concept right now verbally. If I have to write it down, it will take me a lot of words. But here you see, lack of tap water connection, households dig borewells, and excess groundwater use. Three small words, three small boxes, done. You have explained the concept. So that is where this is useful, and this becomes a point in itself. So this is what I wanted to show you. In the third one, okay. What is data localization? Should India go for data localization? Critically analyze. So after the intro, what is data localization? So I could have explained it in words, but then I decided to draw flowcharts. There are two types of data localization, where the data is physically sent to the other country and a copy kept in in India, or the data is stored in India itself. Both these concepts I've explained, putting an or in the middle, and then step one, step two, step three, or step one, step two, step three. That's it. And here I've explained that the second method is called data mirroring. So this would have taken me around 1.5 minutes to write, but then I have explained the entire concept. It's a three-pager question. So data localization I have already explained here, and I did not take much words. So that is where this comes in useful. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. Um, yeah, this is an example of where not to put flowcharts. So I think there's some question about um poverty reduction through some methods. I don't know. So I put the point that there is lack of enough focus on education, human resource development, and then I again decided to put a flowchart that education leads to better life, jobs, and more capacity to have freedom from poverty. Now this is a self-explanatory point, and it does not add any value to the point that I was making here. So the examiner has written that it's not needed, and he's right. It's not needed. In retrospect, if you see, this only wastes my time rather than putting a new point forward or explaining something better. So this is very important. Where to put visual aids, but more importantly, where not to put visual aids. So that's that. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah. India follows a three-stage nuclear program, under which in the third stage we use thorium-based nuclear reactor. What are the advantages and disadvantages of thorium-based nuclear reactor? This is a 15-mark question, and I put this slide also because the intro was very good. So I'll tell you what. If you read the intro, so India's three-stage nuclear program was formulated keeping in mind our very less share of uranium and one-fourth share of global thorium. We have lots of thorium, but very less amount of uranium. Now, thorium can be used at a particular stage in the nuclear process, not at the first stage in itself. It always starts with uranium fuel. So the idea is that we have a three-stage program where we first import natural uranium, get it into fissionable material, and start a stage three where thorium is used in a क्या बोलते हैं, self-sufficient cycle. That self-sufficient cycle where you put thorium only as the input. You don't need uranium anymore. So that input of thorium can be met through our domestic needs. So right now we are at some early stage 2, India as a country. So by the time we come to thorium, we hope to reduce our dependency on uranium and increase on our natural reserves of thorium. So that has been explained here. So it's a very strategic insight that I have put forward in my introduction. Apart from this diagram, I just wanted to show you that such an introduction will always attract the attention because this is an insight. It's not directly written anywhere. If you understand the concept, understand why India's nuclear program is three stage and why is it important, only then can you write an introduction like this. So that's why it was appreciated as well, that it's a very good introduction. So yeah, so as you can see here, the three-stage nuclear program, if I have to write it down, it'll take me a lot of time. So what I have done is I have explained it here through flowchart. That first you get natural uranium, then a PHWR से जाता है plutonium byproduct आता है, then natural uranium, उस plutonium byproduct को मैं second stage में डाल देता हूँ, फिर thorium आ जाता है, फिर thorium को मैं इधर use कर लेता हूँ. So this entire process I have shown. So it saves a lot and lot of time. If you have to write it in a in a verb in a word format, it'll take you much more time. So that's that. Now, let's go to the next question. Okay, what do you understand by artificial intelligence? Discuss its application in health and traffic now. um, this slide I wanted to show you uh, for two things. One is because it was appreciated as something that is well written, but also because I explained. So we were talking about Venn diagram, right? So machine learning is a broader concept, and artificial intelligence is a concept inside machine learning, right? So machine learning is the broader concept. So that I have explained through this Venn diagram. I know it sounds very silly that it's such a simple thing. I could just have written it down, but trust me, if you just draw two circles, one inside the other, and explain it this way, it saves time. And this answer was written quite well. I just have put the first page. In fact, I got 8.5 out of 15, which is unprecedented. So yeah. Okay. So discuss its application in health and traffic management. So this is the third page of that answer, or I think the second page of that answer, where how AI can be used in traffic management is something that I have explained through flowcharts. So cameras, sensors on roads, then the data is fed to satellites, processing center. Just give me 1 second. I think I have to put my laptop on charging. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, I hope I am audible and visible. So here, AI in traffic management, I have explained ki what is the process, and as you can see, I remember that this takes a lot less time than having to write it. So this is another way of improving a presentation. And of course, I mean, if you're able to put a concept that you have understood in flowchart, then it immediately gives the impression to the examiner that you have understood the concept. That is also important, that adds some value, and of course it improves presentation, it saves time. The things that we discussed here, right? What are the things that we discussed here? Just give me a moment. Yeah, it enhances answer quality, demonstrates understanding, saves time, earns some extra marks, and improves presentation. So the point I'm trying to make is all of this will not come to you naturally. You have to keep practicing. Only then you will realize that it helps you, and then only then you'll be able to implement it, because it's not easy to do this in an exam situation where you are completely stressed out. So that's that. um, okay, this is another question. This is a 10 marker question, and I have included my entire answer here. What is the issue of WTO moratorium on customs duty uh, on e-commerce trade? Comment on the stakes of India and other developing nations in e-commerce trade. Okay, so I want to go through this entire answer with you. What is the thought process that went through my mind? What are the visual aids that I used? And so I have got 5 out of 10, which is quite a decent score, uh, because that's 50% marks, and it's not easy to get 50%. So the introduction is that with India poised to be one of the leading generators of data and markets for e-commerce, protection of domestic players is important. In this context, the issue of WTO moratorium on customs duty on e-commerce assumes significance. So, issue of WTO on assume significance. Assume significance is not a word that I should have used. I should have just said on e-commerce becomes crucial. Yeah, is crucial, because assume significance is a lot of words, lot of letters. It takes time. So if I have to think back, then I would today, if I have to write this, I'll use is important, or is vital, because vital is smaller word. So these things that you need to do, there is no chance for you to be verbose, to use lots of words, lots of big sounding words. It doesn't help. Small words, semi sentences, not in the introduction, but incomplete sentences, phrases can work, as you can see here. But one thing I want you to notice here is that uh, protection of domestic players is not something that is mentioned in the question. But then I specifically put this point here because this issue is related to protection of domestic players. So I just wanted to put forward the point that I understand what the issue is about. So I wrote that protection of domestic players is crucial. So that becomes very important to understand the demand of the question. Why is this question being asked? WTO moratorium on customs duties is there. Okay, some countries want it, but why is India opposing it? You have to understand that. By the way, this is not a अभी का करंट अफेयर्स, ये 2-3 साल पहले का करंट अफेयर्स है, तो उस हिसाब से मत देखना. इट्स अ क्वाइट एन ओल्ड करंट अफेयर्स, सो डोंट जज इट कि अभी नहीं चल रहा है, अभी चल रहा है कि नहीं है, अभी नहीं चल रहा है, चल रहा होगा मुझे नहीं पता. तो ओके, दैट्स दैट. So I have explained that protection of domestic players right in the introduction. Now, what is the issue of WTO moratorium? This thing was put in 1998, the moratorium. And what is it basically? It's a ban on any country putting restrictions via customs duties on trade in e-commerce. And it gets extended every ministerial conference of WTO. It's also very important that comment on the stakes of India and other developing nations in e-commerce. So it's also very important to make people understand that big nations like developed nations have different stakes than developing nations. What are the difference? That I've explained it via visual aid. The, the developed nations want to continue this moratorium, and developing nations want to end this moratorium. So basically, developing nations don't want a ban on uh, uh, putting. So developing nations want custom duties on trade and e-commerce, so that outside foreign players uh, can come in only after paying custom duty. It's like a trade barrier, so that domestic players are protected. So obviously, in developed nations want to export their e-commerce, right? But we want to protect our domestic players. So that's why there is this diverging view. So that I've explained here. You have to understand that this is a 10 marker question. That means you have limited time, limited space. You just have 2 pages. So this is here, and then this is the next page. What was the second part of the question? Comment on the stakes of India and other developing nations in e-commerce trade. Okay, stakes of India and other developing nations. So potential loss that developing countries face due to extension of moratorium is $10 billion per year. Why? Again, visual aid. If there is moratorium, then e-commerce companies, big e-commerce companies like Amazon and Alibaba, get unrestricted access in developing nations. So this is bad for domestic companies. So this is the concept, and that is where India's stake is there. So most giants of e-commerce are based out of developed nations. So I have crystal clearly explained the concept. And let's talk about, okay. Uh, then what is the way forward? I feel that here I could have done a better job of writing that what can India do, write 2-3 points, and then put a way forward. India must gather global support for other similar nations to put an end to this moratorium. Otherwise, we will remain a major client of data and will not be able to take advantage of the large e-commerce market base as well as diversified data. This is a good conclusion, but there should have been some points in the middle about what some concrete steps that India can do. And this answer I've written in 10 minutes, so I've mentioned here because it was a mock test, so I used to time myself and write it here. So I think within 10 minutes, this is not a good answer because it has to be written in 7 minutes, 3.5 minutes per page, 7.2 minutes to be exact. But the point I'm trying to make is with practice, you'll be able to write it in under 7 minutes. And also, some points here are explained about how can I further improve the answer. The point I'm trying to make is two things. One is such things can help you explain concepts easily, and again, explaining concepts easily through this flowchart, because this flowchart is the heart of the answer. This is the basic issue. If there is moratorium, then it's bad for domestic companies. So yes, so that was that. So this is my these are the screenshots that I had. So I have just one slide at the end. I was telling you all of this, but then all of this comes from practice and lots of rigor. So I just want to show you, these are my answer copies and answer sheets, mock test answer sheets that I wrote only in the 3 months between prelims and mains. So lots and lots of practice I did, and only then I was able to bring myself to write good mains answer and get sort of decent UPSC rank. Um, so, and also I wanted to finish my presentation with uh, one thought that I had heard one very respected senior of the IAS give say in one of her speeches. She said that she read it somewhere, obviously, that there are two types of burden that a person may face in life. One is the burden of discipline, and the other is the burden of regret. The burden of discipline weighs ounces, but the burden of regret weighs tons. So if you should put your heart and soul in preparation right now rather than regretting later on, because the burden of regret is much higher than the discipline that you will have to put yourself through for the rigor and practice that we are talking about. So the choice is completely yours, but ऐसा ना हो कि बाद में रिग्रेट हो, इसलिए जी जान लगा के तैयारी करना है, बहुत सारा प्रैक्टिस करना है. मेंस इज ऑल अबाउट limited knowledge, and being able to write good mains answer based on practice and revision. This is very important. Practice and revision, I cannot stress it enough. So for those of you who don't know, this was my fourth attempt. The 2021 civil service exam was my fourth attempt, and it was my second mains first interview. First two attempts I gave with a job, and I was unable to clear the prelims itself. And third attempt I couldn't clear mains. So in my fourth attempt, I believe I did everything right. And I just feel that if I have to crystallize my learnings of this exam in 3 4 steps, then the first thing I would say is that simplify the process, don't make it unnecessary complicated, do only that much that is required in the exam. ज़्यादा 10 जगह से पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. um, and most importantly, revision and practice. This goes true for both prelims and mains. Revision and practice is the key, otherwise there is nothing else that actually will add as much value as revision and practice. um, the ability to differentiate noise from substance is a very important life skill that you learn during your UPSC preparation, which will help you throughout your life even if you don't clear this exam. And most importantly, uh, this is just an exam, so your life is not dependent on it. It's just an exam, it's just a job. um, Life is bigger than just an exam, so people who don't clear it or unable to clear it, it doesn't matter. uh, there is much more to life than. So uh, that's all I had from my side. I would love to take questions from anyone who has questions. So I think the questions can be put up. Yes, just give me a moment. So we can start putting up questions. So the first question is from Sitesh. Sir, I have doubt regarding current affairs. Yes, please go ahead. Just put the question here itself, so I can answer. So next question, anyone? Um, so current affairs, till the time you're, framing the typing it, I just want to say current affairs has become more and more important. If you see last yesterday's paper, current affairs is a topic where most of the questions have come from, and it has become all the more important to focus on it, to read the newspaper very diligently, and when you're making notes out of current affairs, categorize and subcategorize your notes. That becomes very important, because uh, otherwise you will not be able to revise well. And in this context, I should also tell you that the notes that you make, Sitesh, I got your question. I'll just answer it. Just give me a moment. Um, the notes that you make you should make it thinking that it will help you in the last 15-20 days before your exam. The notes that you make are not there to help you when your exam is 5-6 months away, because in the last 15-20 days before your exam, what will happen is your frame of mind will be at its worst. You will be uncertain, you will be anxious, you will be scared, and all sorts of things at that time. If the notes in the shape and form that you have your notes in, if that shape and form does not help you in quick revision, then your notes is useless. So be very clear about this. Not many people realize this or realize this later on. I realized it later on, so I don't want people to make this mistake. So that's very important understanding that everyone should be crystal clear about. So Sitesh is asking how to do current affairs along with GS and optional, getting very difficult. Yes, I mean you are asking $1 million question. Uh, the thing is there is no golden answer that I have to this. Um, you have to do current affairs, and current affairs is such a thing that it keeps on adding every day. So you have to keep reading the newspapers. I mean, you can read the newspaper of 30 days altogether, but it doesn't make much sense. Rather, dedicate 1.5 hours every day for the newspaper and note making. And given that current affairs has become so crucial, what should also be done, I feel, is last 2 years का जो तुम्हारा वो है करंट अफेयर्स कंपाइलेशन, वो देखना चाहिए just as a supplement. I know it's a lot, but then there is no other way. Um, you have to dedicate a lot of time to current affairs, and compilations to supplement your notes that you have made from newspapers is, I believe, a good strategy. So I hope that helps, because there is no other answer. Uh, Optional. So one thing that I realized in my preparation time is I studied optional continuously for 2.5-3 months, because I did not. I found it very difficult to switch. Uh, so GS and optional I never studied together. Optional I completely finished, and then everything was ready. Notes was ready. Answer writing practice was done. Only then I went into the other things. Another thing that one should keep in mind is that if you have to see the long-term strategy between prelims and mains, nothing new should be studied. What that means is, because you will go away from the integrated preparation of prelims and mains 2 or 3 months before prelims. So that means 2 and 3 months before prelims, all your mains notes, answer writing practice, etc. should be done, so that last 2-3 months before prelims, you focus only on prelims mock test, prelims notes, prelims revision and practice, and after prelims and before mains, only revision and practice of mains, except some current affairs that you would have missed out in the middle. Except that it's not a good idea to study anything new or learn a new skill. By learn a new skill, I can even mean answer writing practice or diagram practice, all these things. Very, very, very less amount of new things should be learned in those 2 to 3 months. I'll tell you why, because anyone who's given mains would know that there is 9 papers, lots and lots to study, and effectively 7 papers, but lots and lots to study. So many different things, especially GS3. Anything and everything that is left out in GS1 and 2 is there in GS3. So it's very difficult. So you need to revise. You need different thought process, understanding, and strategy for essay, and of course for optional. Optional will take 50, 60, 70% of your time. So you have thousands of problems. In that, one new problem should not be to study some new notes और कुछ मैंने छोड़ के रख दिया. Of course, अगर टाइम नहीं है तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते, बट अगर मान लीजिए आपको स्ट्रेटेजाइज शुरू से करना है, तो आप ऐसे स्ट्रेटेजाइज कीजिए कि 2 to 3 महीने, 2 to 3 months between prelims and mains, nothing new should be studied. So that's that. So everyday note making will help. Will not be so bulky. Yes, I mean everyday note making has to be done. I'm guessing you're talking about current affairs. Everyday note making from the newspaper. Otherwise, there is no other option. I mean, because the moment you leave out everyday note making, then suddenly things keep adding up, and then you end up missing things. And newspaper reading by itself is a good skill, um, because it helps you to crystallize lots of information quickly. That will help you later on in life, even in the service as well. um, And of course, reading the newspaper lets you stay in touch with the trends in current affairs that is going on. That will help you develop insights and understanding. And of course, editorials give good insight. That's there. Nihar is asking, sir, when to start test writing for CSE mains 2025? So 2025 will be, so I'm guessing you're talking about CSE 2025, where prelims will be in June 2025 and mains will be in October 2025. So if you're talking about that, then if you have already started your preparation, then there is nothing stopping you from answer writing practice right now. I mean, obviously, if you're starting your preparation, then you will not have all the knowledge, you will not know what you do not know. But there is nothing stopping you from focusing on the other aspects of preparation, like कौन सा पेन यूज करना है, क्या मेरा स्पीड बढ़ाने का, इंट्रोडक्शन बॉडी कंक्लूजन को कैसे लिखना है, बुलेट पॉइंट्स लिखने का प्रैक्टिस करने, और दीज आर स्मॉल एलिमेंट्स ऑफ आंसर राइटिंग दैट यू कैन स्टार्ट इवन फ्रॉम राइट नाउ. There's nothing stopping you as such. It's always a good thing to be early rather than late in this process. So you might as well start right now, but please keep in mind that between prelims 2025 and mains 2025, try to learn as less new skills as possible. That includes answer writing skill as well. So that's all I would say. So Ishita is asking, sir, how to start answer writing? Sometimes while writing, I feel I don't have content. So that time, how to continue writing? Yes, this is a problem that one constantly faces, even um, people who are 2 3 years into preparation. But it reduces with time. Uh, like I was saying just now, that initially you will not know what you do not know. So you don't have all the data to write a holistic answer. But that should not, you should know your limitation, but that should not demotivate you from learning the other aspects of answer writing, because that it will take time. The faster you write, the if you are able to complete a 50 pager question, no matter what quality it is, thus the just the physical effort of writing a 50 page answer copy is itself so humongous that if you do it once or twice, you automatically will learn so many things about how you think, how you write, how you recollect, how you recall, how you should revise so that you recall better. All these things will become clear. So stop worrying about the fact that you're not able to write good content. That will come with time, but stick to the process. Amlan is asking, sir, I've constantly been avoiding answer writing and a problem reminding myself of facts and data and information in the answer every time I write. Yes, that's a problem that everyone faces, including me. But the solution is one that includes lots of rigor and practice. कि डेटा को अलग से एक नोटबुक में लिख लो, उसको रिवाइज करते रहो, अपने जो मेंस का नोट्स है उसको रिवाइज करते रहो. रिविजन इज द की. मतलब देर इज नो मैजिक सॉल्यूशन टू दिस कि आई डू दिस शॉर्टकट या दिस क्या बोलते हैं, दिस गोल्डन ट्रिक that will help me to write better answers. No, there is nothing like that. If someone is telling you, then uh, it's wrong. uh, I mean, anyone who feels that, sorry to break your I mean क्या बोलते हैं, your dream, but you will have to practice. You will have to fight it out on the answer copy to be able to uh, first of all write 50 pages, remind yourself of key facts and information from your revision. That's it. That's how I did it. If you see this slide that I'm talking about, right, um, this is the practice that I did in 3 months only. So it has to be done. So yeah, sir, I'm referring to ISGAN website for current affairs plus daily newspaper. That should be fine. uh, one or two websites for current affairs compilation and daily newspaper should be fine. That is a good strategy, but the important thing is to keep revising also. Anything else to read from current affairs? um, I would say that since if you have seen yesterday's paper, what I've heard is it's hugely current affairs heavy. So the importance of current affairs can't be ruled out at all. So I would suggest two complementary monthly magazines and this thing, your daily newspaper. The idea is to integrate all these things together to make your categorized notes so that you can keep revising. Current affairs, if you don't categorize, then it's very difficult for you to uh, to 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 revise. That has been my experience. So Chandradeepa is asking, how do you approach the essay paper, and when did you start practicing essays? So one advantage that I had, since I studied in Jesuit school in Darjeeling, so written communication for me was not an issue. I was into debating and essay writing quite early in my life, so that was not an issue. So essay was one paper that I had comfort in. Having said that, it's not something that should be taken lightly. I still made an effort to keep practicing one essay at least a month, and uh, in those 3 months between prelims and mains, I used to practice essays a lot, because the thing is, writing a normal creative writing paper versus writing an UPSC style essay is different. Creative writing can add as a boost, but it will not by itself help you write good UPSC level essays. For UPSC level essays, one good thing either is to you can join some essay test series where they'll help you build your base, or those peer correction, जो म्यूचुअल करेक्शन का जो वेबसाइट्स होता है, वहाँ पे तुम अपने ऐसे अपलोड करते हो, कोई और भी करता है, तुम उसका चेक करते हो, वो तुम्हारा चेक करता है. इससे यू कैन हैव अ गुड स्टार्ट. देयर आर वेबसाइट्स और अवेलेबल coaching institutes that do that on their websites. Every week they give some essay topic. Focus on philosophical essays because it's important and it's sometimes less focused upon. So, but UPSC loves, if you see CSC 2021, my year's essay paper, it was considered to be the most difficult essay paper in a long time. But I got quite good marks in the essay paper, and it sort of saved me in mains. So that was because I practiced, and also because I had the base मेरा ठीक था. But then जिस किसी का बेस अगर ठीक नहीं है, all I would say is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard enough. So uh, if you have a good base but you neglect in overconfidence, then it will come back to bite you. So you cannot neglect anything. You should build on your strengths but work very hard on your weaknesses. So questions, some question was there which I missed. The last question, if you can put forward. Yeah, is it possible to write good essays without a proper reading habit? I would say proper reading habit definitely helps, um, because it helps you give content. But how do you define proper reading habit? Anyways, when you are reading so much for your GS, you have sort of a good understanding of anything and everything, except philosophical essays, of course. You read editorial, so you get content out of that. So that, anyways, gives a good base, because a serious UPSC candidate, I do not believe will come out if that person does not have good reading habit. So, good reading habit and good material, anyways, you'll have. Other than that, reading novels and all these things is not something that you'll get time for. It can add some value, but practicing more essays will give you more return on investment rather than reading outside the material. So that's that. Thank you, sir, for your valuable. I request institute to continue this initiative. Yeah, I hope I was useful. So yeah, I mean, you can thank me a little later. So keep the questions coming. I think we still have around 10-12 minutes. Mm, so yeah, so what I was talking about essay is practice is the key. Uh, Very early on, you should know if essay is your strength or weakness, and practice likewise. In my case, it was my strength, but then I made sure that uh, I did not neglect it. There are people whom I know who are very good in uh, uh, creative writing, but got less marks in essay because they were not able to practice enough or neglected the subject altogether. So yes, any more questions? Anyone? Um, Welcome, Chandradeepa. I hope what I said is useful. Is good handwriting important or relevant for essay? Look, let me give you a very general answer for this. Imagine you are the invigilator who is correcting 100 copies per day. Would you like to see someone whose answer handwriting is good or whose handwriting is pathetic? Would you like to see a well presented answer, of course, right? Because we are all humans. So it's best to think of it from his or her perspective, the person who is correcting your answer. If I'm to extend that argument, I should also say that make the answers more readable. Headings, subheadings, and points in point form. Underline the keywords. I used to underline with some other pen just to enhance readability, some other color pen. So you can do all these things. Of course, handwriting, better handwriting in essay, theoretically speaking, may not give you good marks, but practically we know that these things matter. Uh, it does put a good impression. That's all I can say. But of course, if you have an excellently well written essay with the pathetic handwriting, then I would say that that is much better than excellent handwriting but average essay. So if you know what I mean. Um, so yeah, you're welcome, SN. I hope it was useful. Any other question that anyone has? How to manage reading newspapers daily? It's taking much time to cover. Dushyant, that issue will always be there in the initial days. But I think if you continue the practice of, and it's important not to let go of this practice and depend on only compilations just because newspaper is taking a lot of time. It is supposed to take a lot of time in the initial days, but with time it will improve because you sort of know how to filter out information quickly. And also, if you are regularly following the newspaper, some news will be repetitive in nature, so you can filter it out that. So don't stop reading the newspaper. Which time the less amount of um, time will be required by you to make notes. In this context, there are some excellent videos by some by toppers about how to read the newspaper effectively. On YouTube, it's there, so you can refer to that. Those I have seen some of them, and it's useful. So yes, someone asked just a question just before this, that how to. I think you only that how to uh, link your newspaper reading to answer writing. Yeah, how to link newspaper topics to answer writing by immediately noting it down in your. And again, this will come with experience. Uh, Noting it down in your notebook where you have current affairs noted down, or even, I mean, if it's some topic on history, some very interesting insight, then, for example, like I was referring to in my presentation, that India's three-stage nuclear program is something that is important because India has very less amount of uranium but very high amount of thorium. So we should have something, some program where eventually we are dependent on our own natural resources rather than dependent on some other country. Now that's an insight that I heard from someone in some news, on the newspaper, on the television. I immediately found it such a beautiful insight that I wrote it down. So having क्या बोलते हैं, attentive mind, if you are into practice and into GS preparation, you will know what is very, it's like gold for your GS mains answer writing. So immediately note it down. So that effort is needed to be able to and of course, I mean, with time, some of the things get internalized in your brain. You don't have to write notes for everything. So those internalizations help you in your answer writing if you are into practicing a lot. But again, I'm telling you, all of these things make sense only if you practice and practice a lot. Otherwise, just like practicing 1 2 3 4 mocks before mains will not help you build these extra things, because you need extra help to differentiate your answer from others, given the hugely competitive nature of the exam. Because you see, people who sit for mains, they are the real stuff. They are the real candidates who have cleared prelims. So prelims में बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो सीरियस नहीं होते, लेकिन मेंस में जो लोग बैठते हैं सारे के सारे सीरियस होते हैं. So your real competition is mains. Well, obviously prelims is there, but prelims is eliminating. Mains is a serious competition. So whether NCRT is sufficient for economy, or we have to go through Ramesh Singh, I will tell you at the outset that I'm not the best person to ask about economy, because my marks in GS3 was the lowest among my marks. I got only 72, and economy marks was the reason. Economy was a subject that I never enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed, but I could not study much for whatever reason. Mere notes, comparatively, obviously, it was good, but comparatively to other subjects, it wasn't the best. I can tell you, but I will still say get it verified by someone who is better at economy than me. NCRT by itself for mains is not sufficient, because NCRT deals with concepts, not uh, uh, issues in the Indian economy. Issues in the Indian economy are dealt with current affairs. So if you want me to summarize how mains economy preparation is to be done, by understanding the concepts given in NCRTs and other standard books, including Ramesh Singh, one should be able to apply that, understand the issues at hand from the current affairs, and write answers, make their notes in that format. So that is what I would say. So I hope that answered your question. Are NCRTs enough for geography for both prelims and mains? I studied geography from PMFIS notes. Class 11 NCRTs, excellent. Physical geography, important both for prelims and mains. Some diagrams are there which are very, very important for mains. But NCRTs by itself, I would not venture to say that they're complete. You can refer to my notes that I have in geography. There are some value addition topics. For example, capitals of India from north to south, east to west, capital cities of Indian states. If you mug them up, if you mug up the orientation of states, which state touches which other state, then you will be definitely helping yourself in able to at least eliminate certain options in your prelims. And for mains, NCRT is by itself not enough. You really need. Okay. I'm sorry. What I mean is for prelims and both for mains, NCRT by itself may not be enough. You should refer to some other handouts or compilations as well. And also places in news, these also form part of geography. And these value additions that I talked about, north to south, east to west, India map, states, orientation, which state touches which state. So any other question? We're sort of towards the end. Any one two questions we can have? Okay. um, no more questions then, I think. Anyways, we are towards the end also. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope it was useful. Um, I just shared honestly what are the things that I found useful in my preparation. And again, the bottom line remains that if you don't practice and if you don't put in the discipline and hard work, then things are not going to work out no matter what golden um, I mean advices you take from whoever. It doesn't help. You have to put in the hard work by yourself, practice a lot, especially for mains, so that you are able to come out with insights of how best. Try to think about how you think while writing an answer. How do you recapitulate? How do you recollect memorized points? Uh, if you have written your notes in a certain way, are you able to recall that entire page as it was, like it happens with a photographic memory? Or do you just recall some keywords out of those page of notes? If it is keywords that you recall, and if by recalling only that keyword you're able to formulate an entire answer, then maybe it can be so that if you reformat your notes, your final notes that you'll be using before your exam, if you reformat that by just writing the keywords down and just one two sentences, then maybe you'll be able to revise faster and more effectively. So that's an exercise that all of you can do. I found it very useful, especially in my ethics paper. I realized by practicing a lot that even if I write 10 pages of notes, I'm just giving 10 pages example, I just remember every page 4 5 keywords. वो कीवर्ड अगर मुझे याद आ गया आंसर में, uh, recollect करते time, then I'm able to formulate an answer out of it. Because if I remember a keyword, then पूरा mind map बन जाता है. अच्छा ये this is related to that concept, this is the example, this is the example from Indian leader, that's an example, global example, world best practice, whatever. So then I'm able to map it out and formulate an answer. But then the keyword is important. So what I did is, before my mains, the final ethics on notes that I had was around 3 or 4 pages. I had just written down the keywords and maybe some small diagrams, some sentences, and everything. So this is a level of concise, or क्या बोलते हैं, condensation of notes that you can do. It really helps you to save time. So all the best, everyone. Thank you so much, and I hope it was useful. All the best for mains, people who are preparing. All the best for prelims for the next attempt, and people who gave prelims may not be clearing prelims. It's okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It happens. I mean, it's just an exam. What is more important is how you rise out of this. So thank you, everyone, and good evening. I'll take leave from the session. Thank you.